You are now listening to Imprint with Nesreen on Yahala Voice.
Comedy runs through his veins. However, he didn't know being a comedian would be in his future. His tendency to go on long, funny rants led to the conclusion that stand-up comedy is the right path for him. Within his first year, he performed at the famed Town Hall Theater on Broadway. He was born in Detroit, Michigan, but Jordan and Palestine are always in his heart. His passion for the Middle East led him to coordinate events for a non-profit organization named Islamic Relief. He says, "I will help give Arabs a voice by showing the pen and mic can be mightier than the sword, because it's my Arab world." Comedian Said Durrah, it's a pleasure to have you on the show Imprint on Yahala Voice.
Thank you.
Said, what is your Arab world?
Oh, gosh. My Arab world is like a funny restaurant. It's really just a lot of laughs, a lot of culture. That's really it. And, of course, trying to give back as best we can. I mean, we're blessed to even have what we have. So it's always important to give back, that the karma universe always watches out for us.
Now, laughter and culture, that's always infused in your comedy and everything that you do. Tell us a bit about how you started performing and a few skits that you've done.
I honestly started performing only because everybody told me that I needed to be a comedian. They didn't tell me I was funny. They told me I needed to be a comedian. Those are two very different things.
How so?
And so, well, you can be funny, you can be that funny guy in the group of your friends, and everybody will say, haha, that was a funny joke, or he's really witty. Wow, how do you come up with that so fast? But taking that to the stage and becoming a performance and actually writing it out and having the creativity to think about it and put it on stage, that's what a comedian does. So anybody can occasionally say something funny, especially if they're around a lot of people that are not funny, then they really stand out. But comedians have to go on stage with other professionally funny people, and we have to stand out. So I got into it simply because of the fact that my parents and my family said, this is something you need to do. And I think my parents did the opposite of what most Arab families do.
Where was your first performance?
My first performance actually was at a comedy club called Broadway Comedy Club. And I think it's one of the largest comedy clubs in Manhattan. I was performing that night with Dean Obeidullah, Maysoon Zayed, and a couple others.
Okay.
And I thought if I didn't do well that night, then I would quit. And I guess the rest is history. I didn't do too bad. And most people, they don't start at the largest comedy club in Manhattan. They usually say, I did these 10, 12 shows locally at my church or my mosque.
Definitely. So that's a success all on its own, huh?
Yeah. So that was kind of a big deal. People were saying, "Oh, are you going to try comedy?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm going to give it a go." Well, where are you performing? Oh, Manhattan. They're like, "What?"
That's big.
So, but I figured if I'm really horrible in New York, then nobody in DC would even know I tried. So that's really how it works out. And then I got home, and I can make up any story. I could say there was 12,000 people, standing ovation. Chris Rock was like, "That's it. It's over. I quit. You're the best." Because nobody would know. So that's pretty much what I did.
And how about your skits? Are they focused in Arab comedy or for an Arab audience, or do you open up doors to other individuals?
I do a mix of everything, but to be quite honest with you, if you tell true stories about family and you tell true stories about your culture, what's going to end up happening is that everybody who has a family like yours, or anyone who has a culture that's similar to yours, they're going to be attracted to that. But the key is you got to be honest, and the key is you got to not be, I guess, how can I say this? you can't really stand on stage and just tell a bunch of jokes about your own culture to get people to point at you and say, "Oh, you guys are so funny and dumb." That's not my thing. There's not going to be airport jokes or cab jokes in my repertoire. I mean, some people do it. That's great, but that's not my thing. So a lot of people will come up to me after a show and say, "Oh, you know, my mom is Puerto Rican. She's exactly like your mom." And I'm like, "Well, my mom's from Palestine." But it's just how our parents act and how, you know, especially if you're a minority, you usually find a lot of parallels. So.
And a lot of your comedy does include elements of the Palestinian culture, and you talk about your family a lot, as you indicated.
I have to.
Vocal activism, is that important as well?
Absolutely, but, you know, it's your obligation. If you are an Arab or you are a Muslim or anything that you're proud of and people don't know about it, you might not be that proud of it.
Do you see these two as two different things? Are you a comedian and an activist, or do you see yourself as an activist through comedy, let's say?
I think I can be both. Like, if I need to be that guy who's standing on a sidewalk waving a flag or something and kind of just being there with, you know, with my people and standing up for something, I can be that guy. But if at the same time, to be quite honest, I've said this in a lot of interviews, but in order for somebody to trust you, they got to like you first. And the quickest way to get them to like me is to tell them something funny. So I find myself standing in front of hundreds, if not thousands of people, and they're asking me to make them laugh. And as I'm making them laugh, I'm telling them about myself. And kind of in a subliminal manner, at the end, they say, well, maybe everything that I hear on TV or read in the news isn't so true, because this guy seems to be absolutely full of Arabness, and he hasn't said anything along the lines of what I heard on the news network.
And what does the culture mean to you? What is Palestine, Jordan? What does that all mean to you?
It's everything. It's like I said, this is it's in your blood. You know, to be quite honest with you, all you have to do is go overseas once or twice, and a lot of people, even the ones that I talk to that literally will come here from Palestine, literally their first week here in the United States, a lot of them have come to me and say, you know, until I met people like you, I thought everyone left that area of the world, came to America, and forgot about us. Just forgot what it was to be Palestinian or Jordanian. Even my grandparents on my dad's side, they're Syrian as well. You know, it's very important for us to represent. People have kind of thought that that's just about debka at weddings, wear a keffiyeh, and then occasionally, you know, eat some shawarma. But it's
it goes
much
beyond
more than
that.
Yeah, I mean, shawarma's good, don't get me wrong.
Always good.
About it, but that's not everything. I mean, there's at least 4 other days of the week, you know?
Of course. Said, we're going to listen to a short clip, and we'll be right back with more.
So I was doing an event, you know, I was doing a performance, and actually I was performing at, I know there's a couple CARE folk here, so I was going to a performance for CARE, and also, like, I recently, in the last year, like, joined Islamic Relief, so I do a lot of work for them and everything, and so I guess it's kind of heightened that. So now I notice things that a normal person wouldn't notice, you know, like they're looking at me, you know, if I'm wearing like a huge Islamic Relief logo or something. So I was going to that event, and I stopped at the gas station. And I'm sitting here, you know, just pumping the gas, just sitting there pumping the gas. And this guy looks over at me, and he's giving me this look, and he's just like chewing tobacco, the whole stereotype, like it's on point. He's like, And I just realized that going to that event, I actually had a shirt that said Boston Strong. This was after the Boston Marathon bombings. And so the guy is like staring at me. And I'm like, So we're having a war, where he's like, And I'm like, So we're going back and forth, and I'm pumping the gas, and I'm looking at the guy. And I'm like, I know what he's doing. And he just keeps giving me this look, and he's like, like, okay. So you know what I gotta do, right? I'm just like, I literally let go of the pump. I'm like, excuse me, sir, is there a problem? And he's like, with me? I said, yeah. Nah, no problem here. And just keep staring at me. And I'm like, oh. You know, and I'm pointing at my shirt, and I'm like, oh, I see what it is. I got a Boston Strong shirt, and you can't have that because I'm an Arab, or maybe because I'm a Muslim, I can't rock this because, you know, I must be some terrorist or something like that. Is that what you're thinking? You see the shirt? I can't wear it. Man, I was born in Detroit. I'm American as you. Yeah. Don't do that. You know, don't give me that look. And I'm getting in his face, and I'm like, so stop it. I'm just like you are. And I had that moment, like almost like a... You know, like a soap opera. I just wanted to stand to the side and just have people applaud. Right? Because, no, you can't view me like that. And he just looks at me. He's like, right. And I'm like, I told you, man, I'm just American as you are. I can wear this shirt any day I want. You got it? And he's like, nah, man. I just thought you don't look like the kind of guy who runs marathons.
Muslim comedian. Now that's funny. Is this your only job?
What are you even gonna joke about?
Are your parents okay with this? Wow, comedian. What's your serious job? I don't find this funny. Comedy is haram. You performed on Broadway? Like, the real Broadway?
There's nothing funny about Islam.
People are dying in Palestine. Bahrain.
Syria.
You should be ashamed.
You're listening to the show Imprint on Yahala Voice, and we have an exclusive interview with comedian Said Durrah. You could leave your comments and or questions on our Facebook page, Yahala Voice, or text us to the number 708-321-1313. Said, what it says in the clip, are your parents okay with this?
Yeah. You mean, are literally my parents okay with this?
Literally. Are they okay with it?
My parents would, unless there's a really expensive flight, my parents don't miss a show. Mm-hmm. Not only do they not miss a show, my mom constantly tells me, it's my side, and I sit up front. There is no in the back of the room. Just make sure it happens. So, like, they're not going to miss it. So a lot of times people will say, who's that guy dying in the front row, like literally dying, and it's my dad. So
it's great to have that type of support from your family and your friends, and everything is smooth sailing when that happens. Many comedians, they do fall into an issue where their parents might not want them to go into the field, or they expected something else out of them. So for family to actually embrace it and accept it and help make and build a foundation for what you're doing, that's big all on its own.
Yeah, I mean, it's really important for, you know, not just, obviously I consider myself a Muslim, I consider myself Arab American, but I'll say for both of those, I can't speak for everything else, but for both of those, what's amazing is that if a child comes to somebody and says, I want to be a singer, I want to be a writer, I want to be a comedian, I want to be an actor, a lot of times there's a very, like, the parents or the household or the siblings or the friends, a lot of them are in a very, like, if you want to do this, you have to prove that you can immediately become a star. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. If you tell them you're going to go become a doctor, it's going to take you 8 years, they say, well, go ahead, we'll support you, no problem. You're going to be a doctor at the end of 8 years. It'll be amazing. But we really don't allow a significant amount of time. Even my dad, when I first started, he would tell me, so how much are they paying you, 10,000, 15,000? I'm like, I just started.
Yeah.
And there's, 50 people in the room. So unless they're each paying, $2,000 to see me, no, I'm not making that much.
It's a bumpy road in the beginning, but it's definitely worth it if it's your passion.
Yeah, I mean, it's whenever work can be fun, you usually like to stay there as long as you can afford to.
And how about the other comments that were in the promo we just heard? Are those comments that you've heard from individuals towards you?
Yeah, actually, in that promotion video, that was actually taken straight up from things that I've heard. Like, hey, Said, you should be ashamed of yourself on stage telling jokes while there's people in Palestine who don't have food or water. And, or you should, comedy is haram. You shouldn't even be performing comedy. What are you thinking? I've heard all of these things, but I guess it came full circle because, a lot of times when people go to raise money for these causes, whether they be Palestine or Syria or all across the board, comedians are the first people they call. So it's kind of like you got to choose. You can't hate me and love me at the same time.
Sure. And how about when you talk about culture in your comedy? What type of pressure is there to perform not only in front of the Arab audience, but also the American audience?
I'll be honest, I don't really stereotype crowds that often because then they end up stereotyping me. When I go in front of an audience, I don't care if they're from Pakistan or, Georgia or Palestine or California. It doesn't matter where they're from. I usually try to go out there and just be myself. But at the same time, I'm going to still wear my kafia around my neck, and if they mispronounce my name, I'm not going to come on stage. So I've tried to stay true to myself because honestly, if you go up in front of a crowd and you start thinking, what's going to make them laugh, then all of a sudden you're a fraud because you're just giving them what they wanted, but it has nothing to do with who you are. So to me, that's a fraud. That's an actor. I don't need to act.
Definitely. Once more, you're listening to Imprint on Yahala Voice on our main website, www.YahalaVoice.com. We have an exclusive interview with comedian Said Durrah. We'll be right back. Send us a text message and win 708-321-1313. Write your name and email in a text message and win.
Text us. Text us. Text us. 708-321-1313.
أنا خالد.
And I'm Nesreen.
And we are from Yahala Voice. اسمعونا في برنامج المسابقات فكر واربح، برنامج الضحك والفرفشة والجوائز.
To win, you need to answer a very easy question or guess the name of a song you'll hear.
طبعا الإيزي كويشن اللي بتحكي عنه نسرين من عندي أنا.
No. I am the easy questions person.
فكر واربح كل يوم خميس وسبت الساعة 6 المساء بتوقيت شيكاغو.
And Fridays at 5 p.m. and 14:50 a.m.
اسمعونا.
Listen to us.
اطلع من راسي.
For those of you who don't know, Said is an event coordinator for Islamic Relief in the Mid-Atlantic region. Said, tell us about Islamic Relief.
Oh, Islamic Relief is one of the greatest things that happened to me, actually. Like I said, it's important that people give back, and just as my career in the comedy started to really blossom, really take off, I thought to myself, well, there's really a way to make sure that I'm taking care of others while also kind of, like I said, almost that karma that, there's, as they say, there's barakah in this kind of work.
Of course.
So I got involved with Islamic Relief, and the greatest thing in the world is waking up in the morning, reading the news, the international news, kind of getting sad initially because of what you read, but then getting happy when you get to work because you know that you're working on it.
And you're helping.
Yeah. I mean, there's lots of great organizations out there, but there's not a ton that do as much. I mean, they work in 40 countries around the world, including here in the United States. So it's really, really great. I mean, I'm involved in many different, organizations. As a volunteer, whether it be the Network of Arab American Professionals or whether it be Third Pillar Charities, which does a lot of work in the community with homeless and so forth. But Islamic Relief is a little different because that's like my job. And honestly, I'm very prideful. So
And
I try
you've
to make sure.
coordinated a bunch of events for Islamic Relief as well. And you have one coming up. It's titled You Are the Heart of Palestine. And this is taking place on this Friday, April 25th, and it's a fundraiser dinner where you will be hosting as a comedian while the nasheed singer Maher Zain and hip-hop artist Omar Effendem will be joining you.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be, I think they've already sold out twice. And then, you know, in normal Muslim or Arab style, like calling the hotel, what is this fire marshal? No, he's not coming. Just bring more chair from the back there. I see. We'll put the baby on top.
It's
you know,
okay.
It's not, right. No, it's okay. Leave the door open. What is this emergency exit? No, we will not exit. Don't worry. No emergency tonight.
It's a table of 10, and they fit 15 or 20 around it.
Right. Or you'll have that, like, 32-year-old guy going, I'm a child. Aren't I half priced? So it's kind of crazy.
Oh, wow.
But no, it's good. Maher Zain, he's got, I think, the latest number was 12.7 trillion followers or something. And Omar Effendem probably just behind that. He's not going to like the fact I said that. But, alhamdulillah, the thing that we've told everybody about this event is that if the faces at the bottom of the page, being mine, Maher Zain's, Omar Effendem, if that's more important to you than the name at the top, which is Palestine, then don't come.
And what is the goal with the event specifically?
Well, these events are fundraising events. So what we do is we come in there and we tell everybody about the different projects, everything from, you know, equipment that's being sent to various hospitals in Palestine so that, you know, people like, I tell people the story all the time, my aunt actually passed away because she wasn't able to get diagnosed with her cancer soon enough. Well, hopefully we can start bringing these kind of things to an end because of work Islamic Relief is doing. Or, like, I think today on my Facebook I posted I just sponsored another orphan over there in Palestine. So
yes, I realized that. I thought that was really interesting, and I really would like for you to talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, if you go to a hospital in the United States and you're talking to like a 75, 80-year-old person that's like on their last, you know, on their last hours, and you ask them, a lot of times they say, "There's my life is over." Not like the Arab way, because my mom always tells me, "And my life is over, khalas." You know, she's been saying this since she was 45. But when they get to that age, they say, "My life is done. I have nothing else to do. I have nothing to live for." Well, these people in Palestine are 4 years old saying that. 5 years old saying, "My life is done. I have nothing. There's no hope." So for the price of a video game a month, I'm able to do my part to give them hope. So maybe one day they'll become some, you know, big deal and big game changer. And all of a sudden they'll say, "Well, thank you. Somebody sponsored me for a few years, helped my mom get me into school, and the rest is history." So, and the orphan that you are sponsoring, or the newest orphan that you're sponsoring, she's 5 years old and she lives in the West Bank of Palestine. Yeah, she's and honestly, I'm going to show her to my nieces. I've got several young nieces, you know, my sister's daughters, and a lot of times they'll say, "I want that new doll, you know, I want this, I want that," and that's how they talk. That's just how they are these days. And I'd love to go to them and say, "This girl right here doesn't have any of that stuff," and I've showed them pictures before, and they'll just look into the eyes of these kids. So there's no better teacher than to show a child a picture of another child who has less and say, you know, what makes you better than them. And are you sponsoring this orphan through Islamic Relief, or is there another organization? Yeah, Islamic Relief, actually, it's really cool. They have what they call like one-on-one orphan sponsorships. And what that does is that allows you to kind of be matched up with a specific child. And you get their picture, you get their name, you find out what has happened in their life, everything all the way down to what kind of plumbing do they have in the home that they're living in. Oh, wow. You can even set up Skype sessions and have them draw pictures for your kids. I mean, it's really, and I make sure they take the money out of my account monthly so that at least once a month I feel good about myself looking at my bank account. And what kind of requirements does someone need to do that? All you really need is a pulse, a heart, a wallet or checking account, maybe even a purse, not an expensive one, but a regular one. Because expensive one means more orphans you'd have to sponsor to feel better. But that's all you need, and I mean, they have it like on their website and everything. on irusa.org. And you just select orphans, and that's it. But I highly encourage anyone who's listening, if anyone wants to do something like that, don't just think about where you come from. Think about other places, too. If you're from Afghanistan, think about, Palestine. If you're from Palestine, think about Chad, so don't just think about where your blood's from. Think about other people as well.
It's all one at the end of the day, and there are many orphans around the world, and they all need help.
For sure.
Said, I want to track back to the event you are at the Heart of Palestine. I read that on Saturday you will have a walk for water.
Yep.
What is that about?
Actually, yeah. So I'm going to be traveling back from North Carolina to Virginia in the middle of the night, I think. And this walk for water, a lot of people, again, they do 5K or 10K. Well, I've never done really many Ks. I need to get back in the gym. But the 5K is different than any other 5K because this is actually the average distance that most people in needy countries have to travel in order to get clean water.
Wow.
So when I wake up in the morning, I get to my sink and start washing my face before my eyes even open. Like, I know the path. It's 12 steps to the right, to the left, straight to the right. But, I mean, we all do if you think about it. And we get there and that's when we start looking ourselves in the mirror like, oh, God, it's too early. But imagine if it was 5K steps to the right, grab a bucket of water, go back. Like, this is crazy. So the walk for water, a lot of people are like, do I have to do the whole walk? Like, come on, bro.
It really reminds you of how fortunate you are.
Right. So that's what it is. You're literally walking for water. And then all the money collected that day is going to go into water projects around the world.
And what keeps you going with all these events?
A few different things keep you going, but to be quite honest with you, there's nothing better than, the late Anthony Shadid used to always humanize people. Instead of saying 1 million were affected, he would tell you about one of the million. And honestly, that's really what keeps you going. When the kids from Gaza came to my office and I see the kid literally drinking his orange soda and he's afraid to spill it. And when I ask him, why are you drinking like that? And he tells me, you know how long it took for my mom to finally buy me this suit? Or you see the kids around the world, even in places like Syria right now, who, I mean, they're literally fighting so that they can gather water from street puddles that have been formed by, various different types of ammunition from all different sides. So, like, that to me, when I see that, I literally will just sit down and say, okay, we got to get to work, and we're not going to get to work on $5 at a time. How can we get to work at $100,000 at a time? And alhamdulillah, Islamic Relief gives you that outlet. So in a way, I owe them for the work that I do. I always tell people you don't give to Islamic Relief, you give through Islamic Relief.
Definitely. I agree with you. I mean, hats off to you and the organization. It's definitely for a great cause.
For sure.
And Said, I know that in Islamic Relief, you don't only coordinate the events, but you also perform for the events that you hold.
Yeah, I mean, every once in a while, you'll see me as a MC for an event. It's not because like I'm full of myself. Well, it's partially because I'm full of myself, but and it's also sometimes because my mom and dad will come to an event and my dad will go, "That guy wasn't even funny. Why is he on the stage? Yalla, until you go on the stage." I'm like, that guy works at a. He's not a comedian.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't find him funny. He doesn't even speak
He wasn't
English.
looking for that.
Yeah, right. Well, I don't like his Arabic. That was Urdu. Oh, well, I don't care. You should, so occasionally I insert myself in there because it's fun. And to be honest, the purpose of an MC or host is to just get through the program, keep the mood light, make people feel good when it's time to. And I've
keep them riled up.
Been able to do that. So
Said, we're going to take a short commercial break and we'll be right back. Once more, you're listening to Imprint on Yahala Voice. Our main website is www.YahalaVoice.com. Feel free to leave your comments and or questions on our Facebook page, Yahala Voice, or via text message at 708-321-1313. We'll be right back.
Listen to the radio and listen to
Yahala Voice.
أنا خالد.
And I'm Nesreen. And
وإحنا
we're
من
from
راديو
Yahala Voice.
اسمعونا في برنامج المسابقات فكر واربح، برنامج الضحك والفرفشة والجوائز.
To win, you need to answer a very easy question or guess the name of a song you'll hear.
طبعا الإيزي كويشن اللي بتحكي عنه نسرين من عندي أنا.
No. I am the easy questions person.
فكر واربح كل يوم خميس وسبت الساعة 6 المساء بتوقيت شيكاغو.
And Fridays at 5 p.m. and 14:50 a.m.
اسمعونا.
Listen to us.
اطلع من راسي.
Send us a text message and win 708-321-1313. Write your name and email in a text message and win.
Text us. Text us. Text us. 708-321-1313.
علي صوتك مع صوت ياهلا.
And we're back on the show Imprint on Yahala Voice, and you're listening to us on our main website, www.YahalaVoice.com. And we have an exclusive interview with comedian Said Durrah. Said, you are on the national board of the Network of Arab American Professionals, also known as NAP. Tell us about that.
Yeah, NAP's a great organization. It's it's a social type organization. It's been around for 10, 12 years. Basically, it's great because it's like it's a nonprofit, but it's all run by volunteers. Nobody's there is no paid staff, but it's rare that a volunteer organization can be so vast. I mean, it has 10 chapters across the country, thousands and thousands of members. So if you're looking to advance, professionally, or if you're looking to maybe even, meet new people, or we always say some people get their next job and some people get their next spouse or first.
Oh wow, it's that vast, huh?
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those social network type things. So but it serves a purpose. It's not one of those just come out and hi, how are you, engineer, really married, yalla. It's not one of those. It's the kind of organization that will allow you to kind of get what you want from it. If you want to advance in your career, if you want to meet just new people. And honestly, whenever an Arab moves from one city to another, the quickest way for them to meet people like them is usually through NAP. So to go to a local NAP event, and now all of a sudden you have 40 friends, probably at your house. You never know.
I bet. And tell us a little bit about the highlights at NAP.
I guess the biggest highlights of NAP is whenever we have kind of our large events, like our large-scale events, whether they be barbecues or galas, it really brings everyone together, because whether you're that blue-collar guy that owns your own business and entrepreneur type at any level, or you're that brain surgeon, you're all the same when you come to a NAP event. You get to connect with a lot of amazing people, and I don't know. It's kind of, I don't know how NAP really ends up doing what they do, but they're the best at what they do. And a lot of people, I'll ask them 2 years after they meet each other, oh, that's my best girlfriend over there. Where'd you meet? And if you really trace it back, a lot of them will say, oh, it was that NAP event. So they really do a good job. I was the president of the D.C. chapter and also on the national board. So, yeah, if you want to meet Arabs and you want to really stay true to your culture and you want to maybe get a better job, or you want to become a comedian, I don't know, naponline.org, shameless plug.
I know that you're part of the D.C. chapter, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there any other chapters that you were previously part of, or?
No, I've always been part of D.C. Like I said, NAP is about, I think it was created in 2001. So I've been in D.C. longer than that. So actually in Maryland specifically, but
right
yeah,
outside
us in
DC.
New York and Baltimore, Philly. There's so many. Like I said, there's about 10 across the country.
Mm-hmm. And you also have a background in finance and marketing. How does this help you as an activist and humanitarian for not only NAP but other organizations as well?
I wouldn't say well, how can I say this? Finance is always good because as an Arab, you actually are supposed to know numbers and finances and dollars. Like you're really an accountant at age 3. It's just how we are. But like I guess the sales and marketing side, it kind of allows me to maybe, if I'm performing, read an audience, know what they want. Maybe if I'm putting together an event, I have to spend in a certain way to give myself the greatest return on my investment. Mm-hmm. So who knew that comedians would start talking about ROI, and these kind of things. But it all kind of ties together. As far as activism is concerned, NAP and these other organizations, they really help, because if you have a cause and it's a worthy cause and you want to get people involved, well, what do? You reach out to networks, and one of the biggest networks in most cities is NAP. So it all ties together, and the marketing and finance is tossed in there, but it's I can't really point at one thing and say this is where it helps me. It's really collective.
And I want to talk a little bit about your influences. Now, I know you've mentioned your mother and your father are a big influence in your life. I want you to shed light on that, as well as other influences that you might have throughout comedy, as well as your other positions.
Yeah, I mean, I'm honestly always, I guess, influenced by the underdog. And that's probably why I was influenced by people like my mom and dad, because they came to this country with very little. Mm-hmm. And now, alhamdulillah, they built themselves up. And to me, they were the underdog at one point. That's motivating to me. Mm-hmm. Even my niece, her name is Aya, she's gone through everything from, liver transplants to bone marrow transplants. She's had cancer. She's had liver failure. And each time, the person who was always able to get a little bit of a smile from her was me, and that pushed me even further to into comedy, because she would laugh. I even had a show where I brought her on stage because she always said she wanted to be a comedian.
Oh, that's so sweet.
So I brought her on stage. She told a couple jokes, and this was at age 10.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, so she got people to laugh, and it was the greatest night of her life. And, to me, that's very, very inspiring. And of course, all you got to do is read the newspapers on everything going on around the world, and you see how blessed you are. You have obligations. So that's really it. I really never started comedy saying I want to be like Bill Cosby or I want to be like Robin Williams or these guys. All I said was, I want little kids to not go through what I went through. Maybe, if I'm lucky, one day they'll be able to say to their friends in their 5th grade class, hey, did you see that guy on YouTube? Yeah, he's just like me. He's Arab, or he's Palestinian, or he's Muslim. And that would be awesome if that ends up being the case.
And what is some of your words of advice to these individuals that do want to get into comedy or being a stand-up comedian? What is some words of advice that you could give them?
I'd probably say, don't lie. If you don't have that great of a, ethnic background, or you weren't raised to know, why you don't throw away jars in your house, because jars in an Arab household will always be good for za'atar or shatta or lamoon or anything. If you don't know that, if you don't know why we keep a bag full of bags next to the refrigerator, if you don't know, what it is to go, or if you don't know what the words after hey, hey, ho, ho are at a protest, if you don't know any
You're
of this
just not
stuff,
an Arab, if that's the case.
Right. Then don't get on stage and try to be that, because Habibi, it's not going to work. So just be what you are. If you know that Menaish has za'atar on it, that's great. But if you think manish is made with cheese, bro, sit at home, do some Googling, find some Wikipedia, call me.
Oh, God,
but don't get
funny.
on stage and try to be something that you're not, because
Definitely.
people who lie have to have amazing memories, and eventually you're going to crack and be like, oh my God, they're going to know that I changed my name from, Jihad to Jonathan. Oh, no.
Yeah.
So the Arabs will sniff that out in a second.
Mm-hmm.
In a second. They were like, yeah, this guy, his blood is heavy. Demotil. So they'll find it out. So if you want to do this, just be real, and that's all you have to worry about. And that way, if people don't like you, well, that is you. So at least you can go home and be proud of yourself for at least being honest and trying it. But if you get on there and you start putting a scarf on your head, or you start saying, oh, we smell like garlic. I don't smell like garlic. I smell like garlic after a shish tawuk sandwich, but I don't smell like garlic now. So don't stereotype me, because I will get on the stage right after you and I will thrash everything about you.
That's true.
So
words of wisdom right there.
Yeah.
Let's talk about third pillar charities.
Yeah,
Shed some
Third
light on
Pillar-
what you've done over the course of working in that field.
Third Pillar, again, it's a volunteer organization. I'm on their board. I can't take credit for starting the organization by any means. But this is just a great group of people who thought to themselves, the third pillar, and in giving back to people, we need to be able to go into the community and do things like feed the homeless and give them turkey dinners on Thanksgiving, or find them a place to stay, or start a food bank. There is nothing greater in the world than, like, how can I say this? If you were to get a check from somebody for $10, that's great. But if they literally pray for you because they're so thankful for what you did, that's so much more in the long run than a $10 bill. So that's how Third Pillar looks at it. Like, it's our duty. We should be doing this. So a lot of people kind of get around it. And some people who are Muslims do it because they hear it's Third Pillar. But then a lot of non-Muslims come in and do it. So I would say right now it's probably the most diverse group of hustling, roll your sleeves up, get into the community. If you see something wrong, change it type of people. And that's what Third Pillar is, alhamdulillah.
Said, we're going to take a short music break, and right after the break, I'm going to have you tell all of our listeners how they could keep in contact with you for your upcoming events and your tours.
عم تسمع ياهلا Voice من شيكاغو.
And we're back on the show Imprint on Yahala Voice, and you're listening to us on our main website, www.YahalaVoice.com. Before we went on break, I indicated that we are going to talk about your upcoming event site. Tell our listeners what events you have coming up, how they could follow you on Facebook, any other social media sites, your website.
Yeah, the best thing to do is, Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. You can look up Said's World, which is SAIDSWORLD. If you type in Said's World, I think it'll bring up my Twitter handle. It'll bring up a website that might not have been updated for a while. It'll probably even pull up my Facebook, or you can just type in Said Durrah, Durrah. And as far as upcoming events, a lot of the events are charity type events that are coming up. Like you mentioned, there's the event with Maher Zain this Friday, then there's a walk, and the list goes on. And to be honest, I'm really bad at event promotion when I'm put on the spot. So they might as well just check the Twitter, and don't check the Instagram because that's all food. But that's also Said's World. And check the Facebook, and occasionally I'll post funny things and events. So if you really want to be bipolar with me and laugh one day and then be sad about something another, join up.
And I have several comments on Facebook as well as through the text message app that we have here, asking if you have any upcoming shows in Chicago.
I want to go back to Chicago. I did a couple different shows in Chicago. I've been there with people like Amr Zaher and I think maybe even Ahmed at one point. Mm-hmm. I really want to come back to Chicago because when I went to Chicago, it was like really early in my career, and so I was like, they love me, you know. So now I want to go back there and you know and show them what's up. So
well, you're welcome anytime, and we would love to have you in the studio as well.
Yeah, definitely.
And so I thank you so much for being with us on the show Imprint on Yahala Voice tonight.
Thanks a lot.